Greetings, everyone. My name is Cesar Rondina, a best-selling author, public speaker, and educator, and welcome to my video blog post tonight. It's December 8th, 7 o'clock when this post goes out, and as you all know, every Monday evening at 7 o'clock, I post a blog post that is on all my social media platforms, and most of them are in written format. Life has been very busy for me lately, so it's been tough for me to get to do a video blog post, but I'm glad I was able to get to it tonight because it's been a long time since we've met like this. And I've said many, many times that I think the personal contact is very important between me and myself and the people who subscribe to my blog. So first off, I want to thank all the people that have subscribed to my blog this year. You're certainly helping to make it very successful and very popular, and I deeply appreciate that. Secondly, I want to go on to wish everyone a glorious holiday season. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas to everyone. And this holiday season actually is what's brought me to the topic that I'm going to discuss tonight, which is modern families and navigating their different structures and dynamics. Try and understand, you can't see what's in front of me, but I've got a plethora of notes on this through my research, and I've got them across 3 computer screens. So if you see me glancing over, try and understand. I'm just trying to keep track of all the different notes that I wrote in the order in which I want to mention things. Also, as a reminder, we do accept guest blog posts. So if you're a writer, a psychologist, whatever your profession may be, a businessman, businesswoman, and you want to submit a blog post, you can submit it to me at my email address, which is on the bottom. It has to be in an editable Word format. I will review it because I do have a strict criteria of nothing that's discriminatory, foul language, and so on and so forth. And at that point, get it posted and get back to you when it's going to be on the website. So with that, as I stated, tonight we're going to talk about navigating different family structures in the modern family environment. I have received a few emails, and I love to address the topics that are in the emails that my subscribers send me because I believe it's what they want to hear me talk about. It's what their interests are. I don't claim to know everything about every single topic, which is why I do a tremendous amount of research, because I pride myself on the fact that my blog posts are really unbiased and they're factual and they're truth-based. And most of my information I verify through at least a minimum of 2 sources. And yes, I do use AI, as many do, to do some of the research. That certainly cuts back a lot of the time. But when I write my posts, they're in my own words, and I'll take all the information and research that I've compiled and put it together. So you kind of know the way the author's pen kind of works and how it's put together. But the holiday seasons are very tough for people. And, we live in a multi-generation society. And because of that, we have different generations have different values, different morals, different beliefs. What they believe are different. How they've raised their children is different, which drastically changes the family dynamics. Years ago, I've said this many times, that children go away to college, they come back home, they get a job locally, and they go on with their lives. But in today's society, children go to different states, sometimes other countries, they go to college, they do their internships, they find a job there, and they never come back home. So we live in a different society where families are split across a wide area. So the family dynamics have changed, but how we maintain a good and healthy family, regardless of the generation that you're from, doesn't change. So because of this diverse structure that reflects the changing in the social norms, for example, what was normal in society for my mom and dad changed when I grew up, and that'll change and it has changed in my children's generation, and it will change in my grandchildren's generation. So traditional family models are really not the sole representation of what a family life is. So instead, we have an increasing variety of family units, and we're going to talk about those. We have single parent families, blended families, LGBTQ plus families, child-free families, and each one of these possess many challenges, and understanding and navigating these challenges is what this blog post topic is tonight. So, how do we successfully do this? And I don't want to put it in the form of a step-by-step guide, but sometimes there is a step-by-step guide and a plan that we kind of follow. So the first thing we need to do is embrace this diversity through education. All right, we need to educate ourselves. Times change, and we need to change with those times if we're going to be successful in culturing and nurturing our family. So we have to encourage education, and encourage ourselves as well as our children to learn about what's going on in different family structures and dynamics to foster this empathy and understanding that we need in the family structure. We also need to set clear boundaries and guidelines, meaning there's got to be rules and boundaries that every family follows with regards to respecting each family member, their individuality, their beliefs, and to try and promote harmony in our family unit. Without that, we have chaos. And when we have chaos, we get into the arguments, children going through the rebellious stages, and so on and so forth. And we do this by cultivating flexibility. So we adapt to these changes, and we remain flexible in our approach to our family dynamics as they evolve, I should say. And they will evolve as our children get older and they evolve. The family structure is going to evolve. The one thing that my parents used to do, which really surprised me actually, is, and it's called fostering inclusivity and engagement. So whether they did it to try and make me and my sister feel good or part of the family unit, I don't know. I don't know what their psyche was about it at the time. But try and make an effort to include all the family members in the decision-making processes for the family activities. What would you like to do? Where would you like to go? You find out what your children's interests are. You find out what the interests are by other family members. The whole idea is to have a bonded family environment. Now, in a healthy family environment, this works very successfully. But there are issues where people in a family may have certain behavioral problems and so on and so forth, which makes some of these processes extremely challenging. And when that happens, sometimes you do just need to seek professional help. And I will always say in almost every one of my self-help posts that whenever you're having a problem dealing with something and you can't handle it, get the professional help you need to walk you through the process. So let's talk about these different types of families. Let's talk about blended families. What are blended families? Well, blended families are, and it's very popular in today because in the era when my parents grew up, for the most part, the vast majority of parents stayed together. They didn't get divorced. Of course, divorce did exist, and it wasn't talked about as openly as it is today. But a marriage wasn't looked at as easily disposable as it is in today's environment. Let's not face it, we live in a world where everything's disposable. Something breaks, we don't fix it, we buy another one. So, blended families are a result of two people who may be divorced. They meet up, they get together, and now each parent has their own children. And now you have to blend two families into one. And a lot of times, that's very challenging because the children psychologically wonder who's going to get treated better than the other set of kids. Are we going to be treated equally? Does mom look at me the same way she looks at her children? Does dad look at me the same way he looks at his children? And this could cause huge challenges in blended families. Now, there's ways of making everybody feel equal, okay? And one of those ways is having regular family activities that you do together as a family, okay? And you have discussions as a family, and you listen to what everybody has to say, each child. Because, people look at children, way back in the day as, out of sight, out of mind. But, children are very important, and they're not stupid. They have a brain, they have the ability to think, all right? Although it may not always be as rational, because their brains haven't developed yet, and their emotions haven't developed yet. But what they have to say is important. And as a family unit, you need to listen to that. And when you do this, now you start to create this bond. By doing family activities together, you bring the children together, and they begin to accept each other a little better. Not going to happen overnight, going to take some time, but it's usually successful when approached properly. Now we have our single parent families. Now, that's not gender specific, all right? Single parents could be a husband who lost his wife or his partner, or vice versa. So the single parent could be male, female, but how we deal with being a single parent doesn't change, because it's very challenging, because a single parent is juggling multiple things. They're juggling work, they're juggling their children, their children's activity, and through all of this, and through raising their children, they're trying to have some semblance of a personal life, which oftentimes is the least important thing on the agenda. And it doesn't have to be that way, okay? So support groups are there for single parent families. There's a lot of help single parent families can get to talk to other single parent families and see what they do. See what they do that's successful. See what works for them. There's a ton of community resources that are available to help support a single parent. But understand that it's a juggling act, and it's not difficult, especially come the holiday seasons. The next type of family that I want to talk about is what we call a child-free family. That's two people that a lot of people may say are selfish, but they just don't want children. They want that ability to pick up, come and go as they please, go on vacation, not have to worry about it. They just don't have the interest in raising children. And that's also very challenging, because parents want grandchildren. So there's a lot of familial pressure that's put on child-free families. When are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have children? I want grandchildren, so on and so forth. And the family may not want it, all right? They just want to be alone. They want to live a carefree life, and that's perfectly fine. So we need to know that that's another type of family that exists out in the world today. Now, there's, as I'm scrolling through my notes here, so please excuse me for a second, because I make notes, but then I kind of talk ahead of myself. So let's talk about some best practices for navigating these modern family dynamics, okay? Because there's other types of families that I mentioned earlier that we didn't get into because they're kind of self-explanatory. And that's same-sex marriages, where they adopt children and so on and so forth. Very challenging for the children. Again, understand we live in this three-dimensional world, and not everybody accepts interracial marriages where there's children involved. Not a lot of people accept same-sex marriages, okay? And a lot of pressure is put on the children. Therefore, it puts a lot of pressure on the family, all right? And these are the pressures that we have to learn how to deal with. So when we talk about modern family dynamics, there's some things that we need to consider. So the first thing might be respect individual roles, okay? Recognize that each family member has their own unique strengths, their own unique dialogue, their own way of talking. They have their own feelings, their own emotions, and they want to express things. They want to express these things. They want to be heard. And by respecting their individual place in the family unit, we're going to be able to accomplish all of those things. I really believe in family meetings. I used to have one once a month when my kids were growing up. This was a safe zone to say, or a safe time to say whatever you wanted to say. Lay out all your bitches, lay out all your complaints. I want to hear them all. Doesn't mean I have to agree with them all, but I want to hear them. I wanted to know what my children were thinking about. I wanted to know what bothered them. And, and a lot of parents today have the attitude, look, in my house, my rules. You don't have to like it. You just have to follow them. You just have to do it. Well, that's a fine approach, and I'm not going to tell people not to do that if that's the way they want to raise their family, but it's not the most effective approach, because now we're not making other people in the family feel that they have a say. And this also applies between spouses as well, by the way. It doesn't have to be between just children. It could be between you and your partner. So have these regular scheduled meetings that you plan. Make a night out of it. You can make it a night where you do an activity or so on and so forth. But discuss the feelings, the concerns. Acknowledge the achievements that people have made. Make people feel good about what they're doing and make them feel a part of it. Big or small, an achievement is an achievement. And when somebody achieves something, it may be small to you, but to them it's a big achievement. It might have been something that's very challenging. And by acknowledging that, we share and reinforce in this family unity and pride. The biggest one is develop a way to have conflict resolution, all right? You have to be able to have a way to address disagreements constructively without resorting to blame or anger. This is your fault, you did this, that's why I did this. That's all anti-productive and doesn't lead to a solution or solving a problem, all right? Sometimes things just simply happen. Somebody says something, they had a bad day at work, it triggers something. No one's really to blame, all right? But develop a way to say, hey, let's take a time out. Even if you need to separate and get 10 minutes away from each other, organize your thoughts and then sit down, calmly talk about it. And then you can get to how all of this happened. Language. Be mindful about your language. And I don't mean whether you swear or use foul language. I'm talking about how you say things, all right? Oftentimes, we say things because we know what we mean, but we may not put it across to someone else where they know what we mean. So we have to be sure that we use the type of language that's clear, it's concise, it validates everybody in the family. This way here we foster this sense of belonging and acceptance. And remembering that no one is perfect, that everybody's going to make a mistake. I used to tell my children all the time, I don't care if you make a mistake. If you make a mistake and you own it, we could fix it. When you make a mistake and you hide it, then it becomes very difficult to fix. So try to avoid the type of language that alienates or causes some type of divide within the family, all right? Because that's never going to work. So what are some of the pitfalls in family dynamics? Because that's kind of important. And there's always going to be pitfalls. And those pitfalls usually almost always revolve around communication skills, expectations, not expressing what our expectations are, not clearly defining the roles within the family. So Miscommunication is a very, very large problem. So we don't want people to misunderstand each other within the family unit. We want them to understand each other. And we have to do this by understanding people's different communication styles. All right? Because everybody communicates differently. They don't communicate the same. And they also communicate on different levels. So we have to equip ourselves and train ourselves with the tools and the techniques to be clearer in our dialogue so we can combat these problems and they don't exist. And this way here our communications become much easier. Unrealistic expectations is another one. And that comes from our traditions, the way we were raised. All right? My parents raised us with a certain set of expectations, but that was based on us being individuals. I can't raise my children the same way with the same expectations my parents had of me because my children were different. They're different individuals. So you can't set unrealistic expectations. So, and that comes usually from, as I stated earlier, traditional expectations. Believing they have a certain role or a certain way they need to do things. Let people be themselves. All right? And then mold how they do that into the family expectations. Self-care is another one. You know, so many times in the family environment that we're so concerned with taking care of everybody else in the family, we forget to take care of ourselves. And that's a bad thing, all right? Because the old saying, as a 36-year paramedic that was drummed into our heads is, you can't help anyone else until you've helped yourself. So you got to take care of yourself first. So never neglect your self-care. That could lead to burnout, resentment, not thinking other people care. So your self-care, whether it's your hygiene, whether it's your emotional health, you need to mitigate this and you need to manage it. That's very, very important. There's a lot of books out there, and I'm going to quote a couple of them that I've read that are actually pretty good. One of them is The 10 Conflict Resolution Strategies by Stephen R. Covey. This gives you practical techniques for relationship challenges. Okay, and it's a very, very good book. Another one is Modern Families, which is stories of extraordinary journeys to parenthood by Lorraine Alley. It's a collection of highlights that diverse journeys to parenting. And it's a very, very good book. And as I said, that engaging with workshops, talking to other parents, finding out how other people deal with things is a great way to help because no one expects you to know everything. You know, you're always a new parent. Let me put it to you that way. Just because you have one child or two children or three children doesn't make you an expert in parenting because every child is different. Every child has their own traits. So therefore, every time you bring a child into the world, it's almost like you're a new parent all over again. But if you stick to your basics, you can really mitigate these challenges a lot easier. And again, as I stated, this also has to do with relationships. People change relationships nowadays like people change their underwear. You know, so each relationship is different. You can't take the past into your present or the future, and you can't hold anybody in your present or your future responsible for what someone in your past did to you. They're their own individuals. You need to be fair to them, and you need to give them a chance. So, to wrap this up, let me give you some final thoughts. Society will always change. As generations, new generations come into the world, things are going to change. Just look how society has changed from when you were a child growing up. So we're always redefining the concept of family, and here at Diversity and Family Structures are always going to change. They're always going to modify a little bit. Even within your own generation, as your children are growing up, this is going to be modified from their adolescence to their high school days to their college days. So you have to remember that you have to maintain a commitment to connection within your family. All right. Even in today's society where families are spread apart, I have families spread apart across 2 different states. Makes it very challenging on holidays. And not always do you have the opportunity to have the whole family together. So you have to find a way to make it work. So you have to understand that open communications is paramount. Each family structure offers a unique set of strengths and challenges. And navigating them effectively is a blend of proactive strategies, resources, and flexibility. If you embrace these complexities and you understand them, then you will be able to figure out the configurations you need in your modern day family. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios that I came up with that I was going to chat with you about and so on and so forth. But you know what? I think you get the message. I think you know what the take-home message here is. But it's all up to you. It's not up to the news media. It's not up to our legislators. It's not up to our politics. What we do in our own lives with our own families is up to us. So, in closing, let me say, know what you want for your family. Regardless of what type of family you are, child-free, blended, same-sex, doesn't make a difference. Know what your goals are for your family and reach those goals. Respect one another, listen to one another. All right? In today's world, we need to involve our children in our family activities, in our family decision-making processes. We need to make them feel part of the family unit, not alienated from the family unit. So with that, thank you very much for tuning in. I do apologize again that it's been so long since I've had the opportunity for us to meet like this. Hopefully in 2026, as I slow some things down in other aspects of my life, it'll give me a little bit more time to do these video blog posts because I enjoy doing them. They're a lot of fun. Any comments, questions, and concerns, please email me below. And you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social. I have a YouTube channel, a Vimeo channel. But most importantly, subscribe to my blog if this is the first time you're seeing it. It's a diversified blog. I talk about many different topics. And don't ever be afraid to request a topic. I'll be more than happy to get to it. All right, God bless you all. And as I always say, live with an open heart, live with an open mind, and live your best life. God bless America, and thank you.